Hey, what's happening, guys? Dan Darrow here with another Options in Play video update. So, last week, or the week before, what we were talking about, what I did a couple of videos on, what most of the financial media was talking about was a couple key pivot points on the averages, right? It was 2,600 on the spies, 160 on the Qs. Uh, Basically, a lot of people were focused on these levels because they represented the points where we really started to see the accelerated move lower, right? So we had a really swift move down. So this is the Qs. I'll get to aspires in a second. So the Qs, right? Held support, broke, accelerated move down, then a really swift move back up, right? And it's hanging out right at critical pivot points. So a lot of traders were focused on this because essentially what we did at this make or break level would more or less set up what the next major ish move would be across the tape, right? So if we held and reset, then we could see pretty significant room higher, right? I mean, there's plenty of room up until like the 170 area in the Qs, and if we failed, then it would be support turning it into resistance, and then a lot of people. I mean, even as we're starting to grind higher and consolidate above it, a lot of people are still calling for the retest of the December low. So if we failed here, held here, and then had support turn into resistance, and what happens, right? You start to see us creep lower, and then the calls for retest of the December low are going to keep growing and growing and growing. Let's go to the spiders real quick. I like the spiders a little bit more than the Qs. So what you can see is spiders, right? 260 was the level, so that was the Qs. This is the SPY. 260 is the level. I really like the way this looks. What's happened since I first went over these videos, right? Well, that was here when I first talked about the videos, and then we broke through it. Didn't quite get up to the 270, so it was like high 260s. 270 was like the bounce pivot back at the beginning of December, and then we really flushed from there. So we didn't quite get there. Ran out of gas on Tuesday, right? So that was this, pulled back. But now we're consolidating in a relatively tight range above 260, above the 50-day. So right now, momentum still lies with the bulls. Big bounce, got through a key level and consolidating above it, right? So momentum lies with the bulls. What I am focused on is next week. Next week is going to be a very, very, very big week. Why? Because first of all, it is the busiest week of earnings up until this point. So far this quarter. So this week coming, so the week of February 1st and the week of February 8th are going to be the two busiest weeks in terms of the magnitude and the breadth of names reporting. You have your big tech names finally report next week. We'll start to see the big tech names. So I know Netflix reported last week, but in terms of size, this upcoming week you have Amazon, which is going to be huge, right? Facebook, big one, and Microsoft. So you get the big tech ones, and then but I mean you really get like every day you're going to have some really important volatile names reporting. It's just towards the back end of the week we get those mega cap tech names. So that's going to be huge, right? It'll be maybe a little bit of a waiting game early Monday and Tuesday, but Wednesday rolls around. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, expect a very, very, very busy conclusion to the week. Also, next Friday, the jobs report, right? So not only is it the busiest week up until this point for earnings, but next Friday is the jobs report. So last month, the beginning of this month, excuse me. So the jobs report January, it was a huge session for the market. It wasn't just the jobs report. There was also comments from Powell that session, but the jobs report did get us started on the right foot, right? So we closed this session at 244.21, and we opened well above that. So opened at 247.59. So we had a 3 point gap just on the jobs report headline, right? And then we just ripped on top of that after Powell's comments came in more dovish, right? So this was the last jobs report. We had a $3 and change gap just off the jobs report alone. So we have busiest week of earnings, one. Two, the jobs report, right? So that's Friday. And then three is this technical move. So it kind of gets pushed to the background, but it really is a critical development, right? Like we are at this make or break level. So for SPY for the QQQs, right? And really like, I say the momentum's with the bulls, but I mean a 3 point drop back below 260, and all of a sudden there could be a trap door that opens and we start to roll really hard. So, we're above 260, but we're still at the critical juncture where the next major move could really see momentum kick in, right? And if we get back up and retest the high just from this week alone, I mean that's what about from where we're at right now, it's about $5. So $5 to basically retest the high from this week, or if we break back below 260, then we could see like a pretty significant move lower because we've had a pretty significant bounce in a short period of time. All right, so you have three major things, right? So you would assume options are more expensive, yes? Well, not really. So looking at the SPY straddle going on through next week, all right? February 1st, next Friday expiration, pricing in about 5.5, right? That's really not bad. I mean, we've moved more than 5.5 this week alone. So this was a week, a shortened trading week, right? Shortened trading week with not nearly the same magnitude of names reported, right? And we moved top to bottom more than that. 267 down to 260.66. So we moved 6.5 points this week. And yet next week, where it's as critical of a technical setup, easily the busiest week of earnings to date, and the jobs report, and it's only priced in at 5.5. So that's why I'm thinking that these weekly options could be underpriced. I know I've said it before. There's been a couple instances over the last month and a half where the option market just really seems to be underpricing the magnitude of moves, and this coming week really seems to be like another one of the scenarios where 5.5 with the amount of news flow due out next week, it really seems like that could end up being light. So, I just wanted to highlight this. I know a lot of you guys, if you follow me, a lot of you guys like trade SPY or the Qs or the DIA as hedges, but there are scenarios where sometimes it's worth it to like look at these as just from a trade point of view on their own, right? Like where there's setups that are kind of interesting just from a trade point of view, not necessarily hedge or directional bet on the downside. I mean, this is one of those scenarios where I feel like, you look at the straddle, and some of these times you can even wait until Monday to come in because there could be a little bit of a option crush over the weekend if we don't have a significant gap on Monday morning. So you could come in, look at the options for Friday and say, okay, like with the amount of news, with the economic news, and then, with the technical setup, 5.5, that seems like, like there's a good chance that we could see a more substantial move than that. So take a look. Take a look at the options. Take a look at the Qs. The Qs are going to be a little bit more expensive. So sputters are pricing in about 5.5. The Qs are pricing in about 475. So you can see that percentage-wise, the Qs are pricing in a much bigger move. But that's also because you have some tech heavyweights coming up. So let me know what you guys think. Right? I don't talk about SPY or Q trades on their own very often, but I'd love to know what you guys think. Do you guys think it's, are they expensive? Are they cheap? What are you guys thinking? What do you think that the direction is coming up? So definitely reach out, pass along your comments. I'd love to pick your guys' brains. Also, coaching's coming up on Monday, right? So if you guys have anything you want to discuss during Monday's coaching session, now's the time to reach out. Anything we can cover, like I can start like game planning for it and work it into like kind of like the slides for Monday. So I'd love to hear from you in that regards as well. So as always, have a great night. Best of luck if you're trading anything, and I'll talk to you guys all tomorrow.